Hey, it's Meg. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's junk journal with me, we're going to be doing day 25 of the Junk Journal July challenge. Today's prompt is photograph, and over in the collaboration we have the lovely Jane from Jane the Crazy sharing her take on the day's prompt. Highly recommend you go check her out because she is also a photographer, so I just think that this prompt was absolutely perfect for Jane. So her video, as well as all the others for this collaboration, will be linked down below in the playlist. So the prompt of photograph, I decided I wanted to try and use some of my like book collection, the ones that have photographs in them. So if you've seen some of my journal pages before, you know that I love botanical illustrations, and when it comes to photos and like pictures of actual things in book pages, I'm not always the biggest fan. I don't always like using them in my journals. I just much prefer the illustrations. So I decided I wanted to make a photo from one of these books the feature of my page, and I actually picked this picture of cosmos and the flowers because I'm growing some in the garden at the minute, and they look absolutely beautiful, so I decided I wanted to include that in this page as a nod to that, and then build my collage for the page around it. So I was picking the colours that were in the photo as a way of picking my colour palette basically, so picking out that pink and the greens and using that as the inspiration for the collage for the rest of the page. And I was just playing with different bits and pieces, so I had some pink paper there, and this cut out from a washi sticker for the greens. I've also got a green grid washi there, which I really love. And so it was just a really fun and simple way of using the photo as sort of inspiration then for how I was going to do the rest of the page. I did actually really like the blue floral paper there at the top of the page. However, I felt that it was really clashing with what I was trying to do on the page, and I tried a couple of things to figure out what I didn't quite like about this. So I was adding some like coffee staining. I thought maybe that might help, and I moved it across as well onto the page from the day before, just to kind of keep everything cohesive in this style, and I was adding it over the top, and it just wasn't working. It felt like it was really making the page darker in a way, if that makes sense, and it just wasn't really fitting with this look and feel. So I decided to maybe bring in some white paint, see if that would help, and I did like it on the left hand side here as I'm adding it over the coffee dyeing and the tissue paper, but it just looked really muddy and messy at the top of that page, and I just really wasn't feeling it. So I kind of investigated the papers that I had glued on the reverse of the page, and then figured that I could just very gently peel off this entire piece, or as much as I could tear off. And luckily I didn't create any holes in the journal. There was enough kind of collage that I had stuck on the reverse that meant it did leave any holes, but I just wanted to make sure that I was going to stick something over the top, but I didn't want there to be too much bulk on my page, so I decided to just rip off as much as I could, and then I was able to come in with just some plain creamish like book paper, so where there's no text on the page, and I just covered it up. And when I tell you, this just made me feel so much better about the page, stripping it back to a more neutral look. So I'm just adding literally just a couple of scraps here at the top of the page, and it just made all the difference. And then what I did then, just to make it feel a little bit more cohesive and not like I just sort of randomly stuck it on the top, because it did look a little bit stark, is that I came in again with the coffee dye and just added that over the top to kind of blend it in then with the feel of the rest of the page, so it felt like it was meant to be there this whole time. But yeah, I also added some like grid note paper as well, just to cover up the final bit of that blue. And I think that this really helped to make the focus of the page then on the photograph and those colours, because I felt like it was detracting a bit from the focal point of the whole page. I actually left the left-hand side of the page pretty much completely blank. I don't know if I will go back on another day's prompt and maybe fill that in, but I was kind of enjoying having a bit more negative space and breathing room, I guess, on that side of the page, so it just kind of felt like it was right to just leave that as it is. You know, maybe I could come in and do some journaling or add a quote, but it just felt like it needed that space on that page, so that it didn't feel really cramped compared to like where it sits with the day before. So I just left it as it was and added this text here along the right hand side, just to add some text, because I do like when journal pages have a quote or a phrase, something like that. Just feel like it really finishes off the page. And then finally this little sticker that was floating around, so I just decided to give it a home on this journal and add some little mark making to add some final details to the page. And then that was pretty much everything that I did for the prompt of photograph. I think I just really wanted to make the photograph like pop and be the center of the page, so I didn't want to do too much around it. But yeah, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed journaling along with me. As always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.